Hey everyone, brand new week. Welcome into our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. I am your host, Shad Dales. This morning I'm going to look at one that really shows how uneven cannabis reform still is in the US. This is an eye-opener. This was first reported by Marijuana Moment, and it dives into new FBI data showing that in states where marijuana remains illegal, cannabis arrests are still the single biggest driver of the war on drugs. Yet, here we are in 2025. So while dispensaries are opening on Main Street in half the country, people in prohibition states are still being arrested for possession. So the war on drugs seems to be still healthy. So today I want to break down what the numbers say, but also what it means, because this isn't just a policy story, it's a reality check on how far we still need to go. So let's get into our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. All right, so here is the big headline. In states where marijuana is still fully illegal, over 50% of all drug arrests are for cannabis. So let that sink in. Not fentanyl, not meth, not opioids, cannabis. Does not make sense. And roughly 9 out of 10 of those arrests are for possession, not manufacturing, not trafficking, possession. So when people talk about the war on drugs, this data makes it clear. In many states, the war on drugs is still really just the war on marijuana. And it's not just about statistics. Each arrest, as we know, has ripple effects. Lost jobs, legal fees, criminal records, and communities that continue to be over-policed for something that's legal just a few miles away. So really, when you think about all this, this is what I call the geography of hypocrisy. Because depending on where you live, cannabis is either a product you can buy from a licensed store or a crime that can land you in jail. Because think about this. If you live in the state of Illinois, you can walk into a state-of-the-art dispensary, but drive 20 minutes into Iowa and you could be arrested for having that same product in your car. Furthermore, the data also reveals another uncomfortable truth. The majority of these arrests are happening in low-income communities and really communities of color, the same groups that have historically carried the heaviest burden of the drug war, and that is putting it mildly. And that means the justice system is still perpetuating the same disparities we thought we were moving past, but we're clearly not. So yes, legalization is definitely spreading, but justice clearly isn't keeping up. It's another example, as I say each and every week, that Washington has to speak up and modernize these laws. So let's now look at what I call the policy pressure cooker. Now, this data is going to ramp up pressure on both federal and state lawmakers. Let's first look at the state level, where governors in prohibition states will have to answer an obvious question right now. And that is, why are we spending millions on marijuana arrests when neighboring states are collecting millions in tax revenue? Like, come on, everyone. And at the federal level, this strengthens the case for rescheduling again, or even broader federal legalization. Because as long as cannabis, let's face it, remains a Schedule I drug, law enforcement has every incentive to keep prosecuting it at the state level, and it doesn't make sense. And make no mistake, law enforcement unions, prosecutors, and certain political groups, they still benefit from that enforcement funding. But if they're looking at it that way, I'd look at the amount of tax revenue that can be generated if you regulate it. So work smarter, not harder. But here's also the bigger takeaway. Enforcement doesn't equal control in any of this. It really just keeps people in the shadows while the legal industry, it grows elsewhere. And before we go any further into today's TDR Cannabis in 5, a quick word from our friends at Dutchie. It is the tech company powering thousands of dispensaries across North America right now. They are the industry leader because Dutchie is all about simplifying the retail experience for dispensaries, and they've got a brand new product launch that's coming up that's set to basically change the industry and make it even more effective, from online orders to tracking inventory and really connecting with customers. If you want to learn more and if you run a dispensary, visit business.dutchie.com. So let's now move to our next segment, what I like to call the bigger picture. So what do the numbers really tell us right now? To me, they show 3 things that anyone in the cannabis space needs to pay attention to. Number 1 is the obvious. Legalization without expungement isn't enough right now. When we look at this, tens of thousands of Americans still have criminal records for cannabis. If reform doesn't include cleaning those things up, we're only solving half the problem right now. Number 2 is economic logic will eventually win, because let's face it, states can't keep criminalizing cannabis while watching their neighbors generate tax revenue, jobs, and business investment. It makes no sense. We're already seeing that economic pressure in places like Ohio, PA, now Virginia is about to go online with adult use. It's become a bipartisan issue. And third is the moral argument is shifting. When the FBI's own data shows that the vast majority of drug arrests in prohibition states are for cannabis, it undercuts every old talking point about public safety. At some point, even conservative lawmakers have to ask, is this really what law enforcement should be spending its time on? Like, come on. How many people are dying every single year in the US on opioids? So to wrap things up, here are my key takeaways as someone who covers this space daily and really talks with CEOs, advocates, and policymakers. Number one, the cannabis movement, it isn't finished. It's still fractured. It has a ways to go. We're living right now in two Americas. In a lot of ways, it's like 50 states are operating as 50 different countries. In one state, you have it legal, and the next state, you can be criminalized for it. Doesn't make sense, and it's not sustainable. And number two, and I've been harping on this a lot for the last few months, is rescheduling. It won't fix the problem, but states will still have the power to criminalize possession unless Congress or the courts create national standards. That is why Washington needs to speak up. And number three, the market can't separate itself from the mission. Every company operating in this space, from MSOs to tech platforms, should be supporting reform that aligns with legality, with fairness. Because really, if we ignore the enforcement side of cannabis, we're just cashing in while others, let's face it, are still being punished and spending time in jail. That's not right. And really, that's the truth of it. So to wrap things up here today, the new FBI data shows that marijuana arrests are still the backbone of the drug war in prohibition states. But more importantly, it reminds us that legalization and justice aren't the same thing right now. So as we know, as the cannabis industry evolves, we have to keep both in focus: progress in markets and fairness in law. That's the reality. So again, Washington, this is not sustainable. We need information from you, and we need it now. That's it for now in our latest TDR Cannabis in 5. Leave your comments below. Love to get your feedback. This is a hotly contested topic right now. I'm sure a lot of you that follow this channel and follow this industry are singing the same sentiment that we need change because these laws do not make sense. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. Stay connected with us here at the TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by Dutchie. All right, everyone, that's it. Enjoy your day. We'll see you in the next video. Hope you found this informative. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Take care, everyone.